All right. At Phytech, we believe in the philosophy of plant-based farming. Your trees can talk, now you can listen. We are in the business of irrigation management and optimization through getting data directly from the plants. So we're giving you visibility on the crop that is very different than the standard visibility typically used in the industry, based often on extraneous factors, being how wet or dry your soil is, how hot or cold the temperature is. We're trying to cut through that noise and go straight to the most important thing on any one of your farms. And that's the plant, whether that's a row crop, whether that's a tree. And if it's a tree, if there's fruit on that tree, cutting straight through to those, helping giving you information directly from them. And then you can take that information and use it to make really well-informed irrigation management decisions. And more often than not, the typical irrigation management advice I give growers so often after looking at Phytech data with them is they need to be irrigating in shorter sets, and they need to be irrigating those shorter sets more often. And that is where our integration with WiseCon really comes in, because you're then able to take those recommendations to the next level. We really believe that plant-based farming is the way in which you can most optimize your practices, because you're going to be able to base the demand, you're going to be able to base what you're putting on directly off of the demand you're seeing from your crop. So whether in that great example, Sage was saying at the end, those first leaf trees actually needed a lot less water. That was what Phytech was showing the grower, and they were then able to make those reductions without seeing any loss in growth. That's exactly what we think all growers should be doing. Whether it is a reduction in water, in some instances, it might be a slight increase in water, but the goal being you are optimizing what you are doing to be the most efficient, because now you're basing your practices off of what the tree is telling you. This is really in contrast to the somewhat older school management solutions that were based on guessing, based on more generic data, and had the opportunity to be over what the tree needed or under what the tree needed. The problem being you weren't sure as the grower. You really only had one time of year when you were harvesting that crop to really know that that was the right decision or that was the wrong decision. Now, Phytech is giving you information directly from your plants. And it's not just giving you information directly from the plants, you're also getting that data every single day. You get a new value, a new what we call plant status, so that you can know how your crops are feeling with so many more data points than you ever had the ability to look at in the future. Now, normally I would go from here straight into talking about a lot of the hardware in the system, kind of behind the scenes that makes Phytech tick, that grabs your crop data and provides it to you. But we're going to mix things up a little bit today because we're having this in collaboration with WiseCon, and we're going to talk about automation first. We're going to go and look at the integration, the planner app inside Phytech that allows you to make those schedules with drop control and truly take advantage of the recommendations we're giving you at a way that would normally be utterly impossible without an automation system attached to it. It truly is the next step in irrigation management and irrigation control. The more information we look at Phytech, more often we're seeing so many crops benefit from shorter, more frequent sets, sometimes multiple irrigation sets inside the same day, a practice that under traditional farm management would have just been unheard of. But now with an automation system, it's not just, it's going from being unheard of to being common practice. And let's look at the interface then that we at Phytech have put together to make that possible. We've spent a lot of time building a user interface that was very, very understandable, succinct, and user-friendly, so that you can go in very quickly, see your blocks, and then make the changes on those blocks very simply. You can see here, we have an example from this planner page. We're going to look at a few different things on this page specifically. First, you're going to notice there are little cross-hatched irrigation or little blocks. Those are planned irrigation events inside Phytech. So you would have gone in and you would have scheduled, and then the darker blue is an actual event. And you probably can very quickly see that this grower does not have automation because their actual events and their planned events are similar, but they're still pretty different. You might be missing it by 4-6 hours between when you were intending to actually start your irrigation and when you actually really got that irrigation applied. That is where automation systems like WiseCon really come into the gap and give you the ability to capture that information. Right here on the planner page is where you would begin setting up that integration, along with talking with a customer success manager like myself, as well as in conversations with WiseCon. We would build the integration so anything you put on here would immediately transfer over to drop control very quickly and very easily. Over here on the far right, this is where you can actually see both your plan for this week, but also the Phytech recommendation based specifically off the kind of crop you are growing, with a goal based in hours, inches, and percent of ET that shows you what we estimate the crop needs to be able to perform its very best that week. Now, this is a really important number, but in a little bit, I'm going to talk about the plant status color coming from your direct tree data. You'll see that as the little green lines running across the string. Those colors are produced by the data coming directly off the trees, and they form the basis of what you can do, giving you extra insight to know, like, generally you should apply this much water, but specifically, this block is not the average block. It needs less, it needs more. You now can know that with Phytech. This little simple pop-up box that you see here is what would give you the ability to plan that irrigation event. You can select your start time, you can select your duration, and then other different options in there. If you're doing a fertigation, if this irrigation is going to be a repeat one multiple days throughout the week, all information you can put into here. Now, I'm sure just like they would say over at WiseCon, we're only touching on a small bit of what this planner can do. We have developed it with tons of different easy to use processes that allow you to very quickly schedule very complicated irrigation sets over a course of a lot of different blocks over a long period of time, very easily, very quickly. If you're interested in seeing even more of this, I would be more than happy to talk with you afterwards. Now, we don't just have a great website interface, we also have a rock solid app interface that is built off of really the same fundamental ideas that you were seeing over on our website. Again, you're going to see each of your blocks listed as well as what your plan is on each of those blocks each day. Right there, I just circled, you're going to see exactly what you're planning to do this week versus what was performed versus what we believe is the rough reference that that block should receive in that week. So you're going to see those three numbers that are on the right side of the screen over on the website. Now they're going to be right next to each one of your blocks. So very quickly, you can see whether or not you're above or below what we think the crop should be doing, and then how exactly that irrigation is causing the crop to respond. Whether if it's positively, more positively than you wanted, you're seeing some saturation, or not positively enough, you're actually seeing excess stress. Then you can go into this planner app and you can make really quick and easy changes by tapping on each of the individual days and scheduling in that additional irrigation so that you can make that effective change right when you need to be. And then no plan like this is going to be complete without your ability to share it amongst the team, whether that is exporting it to a PDF to be printed and hung up, or if it's a quick and easy text message to growers. I know everyone doesn't have automation systems and might not be able to immediately apply them. In those instances, then we want your irrigators to have the best ability to use this planner tool And by knowing what you're setting up to do in your blocks each week by sharing your Phytech plan, it makes it really easy for a team, a group of irrigators to know exactly what the schedule should be this week, outlined by each block with what your plan is, whether or not that was performed, if it wasn't performed, where your gap was, lined up by each individual day and showing you the details about that plan. Now, we've been looking at some Phytech that didn't have any automation. So I wanted to give you the visual, just like you saw over on drop control. What does it actually look like if you're implementing a plan with automation? And that's what you can see on your screen right now. Here, you don't see any gaps in between the plan and what was performed because exactly what you plan is being transferred directly to drop control. And then that's turning on the WiseCon hardware and performing this irrigation event. You can make that schedule then right here in your Phytech planner and then begin to make changes as you see that your schedule is more than is necessary, less than is necessary, and very much fine tune what you're wanting to do on any individual day. Phytech with automation is giving you real-time data that can be very quickly turned into actions. We're taking data directly from the crops, and we're telling you how stressed or unstressed your tree is. But what are you going to do with that information? Now you can take it and turn it directly into action. Seeing excess stress, you can immediately turn on your irrigation system, apply extra water, get those trees out of that stress event. Or on the reverse, you see that for the last 2 days, you've been completely out of stress, maybe even achieving levels of higher saturation. Then maybe the irrigation event today doesn't need to be run and you can delete it. And that way you're going to be saving yourself water and still allowing the tree to perform at its maximum. Now, knowing how they feel, you can supply the trees exactly what they need. And now I keep saying trees a lot, but we're not only in the business of helping growers with orchards, we also work on row crops and lots of other agricultural commodities. So we're here to help you make your crops perform their absolute best by telling you exactly what they need. And then with an automation system, you have the ability now to supply them just what they need. Along with working out the schedule, we have someone that's always there to help you. That's a person like myself. I'm a Phytech customer success manager. So I work with a variety of growers throughout the valley. Personally, I'm based here in Visalia, and I work largely with citrus, stone fruit, and almond growers that surround this community here. And I help by coming alongside and figuring out what that right schedule should be. So you have this great Phytech data, you have this awesome automation system, but now you're trying to figure out how to combine them and make the most use of them. That's where your Phytech customer success manager really comes into the gap and helps you even further close that loop by being the person in between that you can discuss with, because they've seen a lot of different things happening in lots of different orchards, have experience with lots of different crops, and can help you figure out and fine tune exactly the best way to get your trees or your crop to respond. And then that easy to use planner tool is going to transfer directly into drop control. So you're able to stay on one platform, utilizing the Phytech data to know how your tree is responding very quickly in that same place, planning your irrigation events for the next day or even the next week, and knowing that they're transferring over to drop control and will be enacted then, very quickly or next week, depending upon when you actually made the schedule. All right. Now we're going to go back a little bit. I've talked a lot about the direct tree data that gives you the information to do the automated changes. Well, where are we actually getting that direct tree data from? It's coming off of this sensor that you see here on the right side of your screen. That is a dendrometer. We place it right up against the trunk of the tree, and it then reports every hour information that we are collecting. And then once we've collected about a day's worth of information, the computers run an algorithm based on that specific crop, and even in some cases on that specific variety of the crop. that produces a color rated plant status. We made it a very easy color rating system, dark green being saturation, green being no stress, yellow approaching stress, orange is mild stress, and red is severe stress. That way, you can open up your Phytech app in the morning and immediately see all of your blocks laid out with their rated stress colors for the day. And know, okay, I got in this example here, 2 blocks with severe stress, 1 with mild stress. That's probably where you should start your day to see what is going on in those fields that the Phytech data is reporting to you. Definitely that dendrometer producing the plant data coming off the trees, or the stem dendrometer that produces the data coming off the row crops, is really the foundation of what we do at Phytech. But we also know there's a lot more happening in your fields. And sometimes these trees are producing fruit, and there might be an issue with the tree that you don't, or an issue with the fruit that you don't quite capture by just looking at the tree. So we are continuing to build out a suite of sensors to help you fully understand everything that's happening in your orchard. That's where these fruit size sensors come in. If you grow anything with larger fruit, avocado, kiwi, citrus, apples, stone fruit, we are out there installing fruit sensors and giving you real-time data on how these fruits are growing. Each day, just like with the tree, they're sending you a new value about how the fruit grew from yesterday to today and what its total size is at the moment. Using this, then, you can project forward to see what the likely size is that you'll probably achieve, or shoot for a goal of what size you want the fruit to get to by the end of the season. This really gives you the ability to even go deeper into managing your orchards and managing your crop. Now you might be seeing your tree looks great, but your fruit doesn't. And then you can go back to that planner, go back to your automation system, and make the changes necessary to get the fruit size to where you want it to be. Then water information, critical to what's going on. And we believe too, we wanted to take a very specific kind of water information and provide it to you. Our pressure sensors are actually placed in the field with the rest of our sensor suite. So the ones on the trees, the ones on the fruit, right below them will be a sensor attached to your irrigation method that's going to trigger on and off when it senses water in the line. This is going to give you an extra level of understanding about how your block is being irrigated and how much water is reaching it. Now you can know, depending upon where your Phytech site is in your field, how long it's taking your system to pressurize, how long it's taking water to reach that specific part of your block. And when the water reaches there, what pressure, what PSI are you seeing on an average basis? We're monitoring that PSI and will alert you if we detect something that's unusually low or unusually high. Especially when we see that value out in the field, it's really a possibility of concern. And now you can use your Phytech information to see how the crops are doing. And then if you're noticing issues, maybe that's a PSI problem. And we're able to provide you that information for you to then act upon and make the changes necessary, whether it's an additional line flush or maybe changing the irrigation system altogether to better provide the trees exactly what they need. And you're never going to grow alone. We really believe in Phytech about not just giving you data for the sake of data. We want to actually give you context for the data. That's why we produce the plant status color. We're not just collecting information off of the tree and then giving you these massive spreadsheets or these big long graphs of the information that we collected. We are interpreting it each day to let you know that this data means that your crop is this level of stress. But we want to take it the next step too. We are looking at so many different crops all around the world. And so the Phytech system also has in it a growth reference line that will show you exactly where your crop falls on average with everything else of the same variety, age, and commodity type, giving you further context to understand how your tree is performing. And again, The customer success manager is a huge part of this at Phytech. We come in and help you even further understand this data more, getting a good basis so that you can really use it to implement actionable change. You have the data. The data is contextualized for you. Then the next step is really important, that you're able to make actionable change in that orchard, whether it's reducing your sets, increasing your sets, changing the length, whatever it is. We're here to help you make those changes and implement them to see the best performance possible. The Phytech difference really starts with plant-based farming. We are taking this data straight from the crop. You're getting information that previously you just kind of had to eyeball by looking at the tree and it looks good. Well, now you don't have to guess that it looks good. You can know that it is good. This information has been well scientifically validated, corresponding incredibly closely with probably one of the most esteemed irrigation management tools, the pressure bomb. And then every single day, we are conducting a massive experiment inside Phytech. We are watching hundreds of thousands of crops and plots around the world in multiple different countries, seeing how almonds in Australia respond differently from almonds in the United States, from almonds in Europe, from almonds in Israel, getting this sort of information back and continuing to learn and to grow from it, to make the data we're providing you better and better. We want you also to access that data in a really easy to use interface on both the website and our mobile applications. So you can take the information we're providing and be able to very quickly understand what it's telling you and make the changes possible in your orchard. The customer success team is there to really help make that a reality by using that super simple interface and this plant-based data to give you a really good understanding of what's happening in your orchard. Because we know there's going to be questions. This is a new way of farming, and we want to be able to help bring you success. We also have a platform of affordability. We function on a subscription model. The idea being, in technology, we're constantly changing. You can look at your phone right now, and I bet you've bought a new one within the last couple of years and probably are looking to buy another new one a few years from now. That's because technology is always changing. We're always innovating. We're getting better. We don't want you to be stuck with outdated old hardware or old technology. We don't want to come to a grower 5 years from now and tell him everything is garbage, he needs to buy all new. You work with us as a subscriber. And so when we come up, as we continue to innovate with new forms of hardware that give you better, more reliable, more efficient data, we'll just roll it out into your fields. No need to worry or to ask about it. And we continue to build a growing database that gets more and more and more accurate. We also understand that at this point, we still don't know everything. We might never know everything. We're always here to learn and continually to improve, to make our system better and better, tighter and more efficient, more optimized every single day. All right. Thank you very much.